Thank you for joining us for PBI's 2018 Annual Conference Luncheon. I'm Eve Runyon, PBI President and CEO, and I am happy to welcome you to celebrate accomplishments in pro bono, and in particular to recognize the recipient of PBI's 2018 Laurie D. Zelon Pro Bono Award, Greg Jordan in the legal department at PNC Financial Services Group. I would like to take a moment to thank all of our conference sponsors who helped make PBI's annual conference possible. Thank you very much for your support. We have a number of awardee sponsors who are here with us to honor and recognize PNC. You can find a complete list on the boards here next to me, as well as in the lunch program book. Thank you to Reed Smith for presenting this lunch this afternoon. To our pro bono leaders and stars, Blank Rome, Alston and Bird, Ballard Spar, Buchanan, Ingersoll and Rooney, and Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen and Katz, thank you. Thank you and congratulations to Greg and the team at PNC for their tremendous pro bono work, and thank you all for joining us on this celebratory occasion. PBI's annual conference. Greg doesn't know about this yet. Presents a unique time for us as a community of pro bono leaders to come together, to learn from and share with each other, and look ahead to what we want to accomplish in the coming year and beyond. It is a time when we can reconnect to what first inspired us to do pro bono and consider how we can turn that inspiration into even more impactful action. It is a time to reestablish and renew our unified efforts in working for justice for all. For many, current events have heightened the importance of what we do as pro bono leaders at law firms, legal departments, and public interest organizations as we deal with the urgent challenge of protecting the rights of those most vulnerable and consider how we as a community can manage and balance the latest crisis with longstanding access to justice needs. Now more than ever, it is critical that we fortify our connections and share resources around emerging issues, and also pursue and elevate tried and true strategies that have effectively served communities in need. Greg and his team at PNC, all of you here with us today, we are here because we value pro bono service, access to justice, and rule of law. We believe in infusing the importance of pro bono work throughout our professional careers. We believe together we can accomplish great things, that when we combine our efforts, we know we can reach new heights in our ultimate aim to close the justice gap. We know that pro bono lawyers have the skill and drive to protect vulnerable groups of people, not just in the US, but around the globe. We can serve people impacted by extraordinary events and also the daily struggles of living in poverty and facing abusive situations. There are so many circumstances when having a lawyer means a voice for someone who ordinarily is denied one. Our privileged role as lawyers and legal staff uniquely positions us and requires that we be agents of change for access to justice. We are in this together. And though our challenges may be great, the efforts of our collective is cause for celebration. PBI is committed to working with you here at the conference and throughout the year to ensure that our challenges are being addressed, and through combined effort and innovative thinking, we can more effectively serve individuals and groups impacted by these issues. Thank you for your steadfast partnership with us and with each other, and thank you to the team at PNC for all of the great work that you do. Now I'd like to introduce Sandy Thomas, Global Managing Partner at Reed Smith, who will present the Zelon Award.
Okay, thank you, Eve. It's a great pleasure to be here with you all. We at Reed Smith are just delighted to be here with PBI. We have at Reed Smith a long association with PBI. We were a charter member of PBI going back to its formation in the mid-90s. Our partner and our managing partner at the time, Dan Booker, was an original and a long-serving member of the advisory board. We've twice before been the host of this event, but most of all, what matters to us at Reed Smith is that PBI's mission is so consistent with our core values at Reed Smith. We are, at Reed Smith, like so many firms, great firms represented right here in this room, proud that our biggest client within Reed Smith is pro bono, by a lot, and that's how it should be. We're particularly pleased to be here when our former partner and our former managing partner, Greg Jordan, is recognized for his great work and the wonderful work of the PNC Legal Department. Look, Greg is a doer. That's just what he is. And he leads a team of doers at the PNC Legal Department. I've seen it before. I know how Greg works. When he puts his mind to something, there is nothing that can get in the way of success. Decades ago, just as an example, decades ago, Greg decided that Reed Smith needed to be a more diverse and inclusive law firm. Just made up his mind that that was going to be the case, and I think at the same time he made up his mind that the legal industry needed to be more diverse and inclusive. And so he did something about it. And so you have an organization like LCLD. So when he puts his mind to something, there really is nothing that can stop Greg's success. When he became general counsel of PNC in 2013, Greg encouraged the legal department to launch a pro bono program, providing the department with the opportunity to support those who need legal services but can't afford it. PNC became a signatory to the Corporate Pro Bono Challenge Initiative, and it began its formal pro bono efforts in December of 2013, so he got right to business. Lots of effort and planning, and PNC quickly cultivated a culture of pro bono service within the legal department, developing an infrastructure which we all know you have to have within an organization that supports everybody's interest and effort in providing legal services to those who need it most but can't afford it. And he did so at PNC across every office where the legal department within PNC has operations: Chicago, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, and right here in Washington, D.C. So under Greg's leadership, PNC pro bono efforts have served a diversity of needs within those communities I just mentioned and beyond. The legal staff has provided pro bono services in some very specific ways that we could say much more about, but to small business owners, to seniors, transgendered and non-binary people, refugee children and their families, veterans, youth in the foster care system, and I could go on, many more. We at Reed Smith are really proud to have partnered with PNC in a lot of those initiatives that I just mentioned, but without Greg's leadership and the leadership of the legal department at PNC, they would not have been possible. PNC is a leader in the community working to provide access to justice. They worked in partnership with companies and law firms in Pennsylvania, including Reed Smith, to establish an office in Pittsburgh for the Pennsylvania Innocence Project, a very worthy organization we've done a great deal of work for and does fantastic, fantastic work. So the Zelon Award recognizes an individual or an organization that has provided exemplary pro bono service. I can't think of a more worthy recipient than Greg Jordan and the PNC Legal Department. So it's my pleasure to present the Zelon Award to Greg and the PNC Legal Department. Congratulations.
I was so nervous listening to Sandy speak for so long because he knows all the things I left him with at Reed Smith when I took off for PNC, and I didn't want all of you to hear, you didn't need to hear that. Thank you very much, Sandy, for those great, kind remarks, and thanks to the firm for being here and for being the presenting sponsor, and thanks for our other friends and law firms that are here that we've been visiting with in the audience today to really come together, and we appreciate your support for us, but mostly your support for PBI and the cause of pro bono and improving justice for people in the country who need it so much. I want to thank Eve and PBI for honoring us with the Zelon Award. I was involved a couple of times as a presenting sponsor. I know back when Bank of America won the award, I remember some years ago, and how meaningful I knew it was to Tim Mayopoulos, who was the general counsel then, with Ed O'Keefe and the whole team. And we have a bunch of PNC people here who I'm going to have stand up a little later. And we feel great about the recognition. But more than anything, we feel great about just being part of this effort. Esther Lardent, who launched, she's the queen of Pro Bono Institute, and 22 years ago, the organization got started. And I just went on the board, so I get to play around and look at the numbers a little bit. And we're somewhere north of 70 million pro bono hours from the law firms who were signature members. And using some rounding, we probably have close to half that many from the corporate law departments. But as you know, once we moved into corporations, we quit recording our time. So we can't be completely precise about that. But given that it's been going on for 15 or 16 years, and we have 179, I think, corporate members, signature members, so you think of 100 million hours of pro bono work being contributed by the law firms and corporations through the mission of PBI as a mobilizing force, focusing force. And if you think like I do of maybe $400 or $500 an hour as the average time, now that is, of course, before the PNC discount gets applied. And some of you are going, yeah, that's way before the discount. But we don't have to go there today. But if you just do the math on that, that's $40 to $50 billion in legal time contributed by the organizations that work so closely with PBI over the years. And in a country where everywhere we look, we see the need for more help, people underserved, people needing representation, people needing justice. But think what it would look like if we didn't have that $40 or $50 billion in professional time by all of our organizations contributed so far. We have a lot more to do, but we should all just take a moment and think about what's been accomplished by all of us who are part of this army that Esther started over these years. And I think she's definitely smiling down there right now saying, way to go. Now, we need another 50 billion, so let's get moving. Quit BSing and get out of the room. So for us at PNC, we've had our program, as Sandy mentioned, formal program 4 years or so. Now PNC is an incredibly generous, community-focused company. We have a foundation that is very much central to the Main Street Bank philosophy of the company. We give away about $75 million in our communities around the U.S. For organizations and people who really need help. That comes right through the PNC Foundation, and PNC employees give hundreds of thousands of hours of time each year, either through our signature program, Grow Up Great, which is focused on early education, or any number of other worthy projects throughout our community. So forming the pro bono legal project at PNC was pretty easy to do. First of all, we had a bunch of caring people in the company, and then we had a bunch of great lawyers in the department, many of whom came from law firms that are already heavy leaders in pro bono. And so with just a little bit of thinking and talking about it, and I recruited Mark Gittleman, who's here, and who was the head of the committee that pulled all this together. And we have really gotten off to a fantastic start. We're already right around 50% of our lawyers doing pro bono, which is the aspirational goal for the corporate challenge. So we think we're going to be able to exceed that fairly substantially in the years ahead. We have many of our lawyers in the department are on boards of important agencies and organizations in our markets, which of course is the case with the leading law firms as well, and such a difference that makes. When we decided to launch the program, we didn't actually know how to do it, but we knew who knew, and so we called Eve, who, before she became CEO of the whole thing, was driving the corporate initiative. And so Eve came to Philadelphia and to Pittsburgh to meet with Mark and me and our team and help us see we could really do this thing. We would, in a law department, you don't have all the infrastructure you have in a big law firm, but we could pull this off. And mostly she focused on us on thinking about aligning it with what the corporation cares about. So education, immigration, justice, homeless, veterans affairs, all critical parts of the PNC community mission. And that alignment did a lot of things. First of all, it made it easier to sell inside the company. It also allowed us to participate very directly with the PNC Foundation. And there's a lady in the red jacket here at my table who's the head of the PNC Foundation, and it's not an accident that she's here today. So Sally, thank you very much for the Foundation's support of the legal department, which helps us sort of hit above our weight because we have the big power of this big bank right with us, and that's been a fantastic thing. So we've had any number of interesting engagements and projects. Sandy mentioned the Innocence Project. We're really proud of that. I've been a lawyer in Pittsburgh for 30-some years. I didn't know we didn't have an Innocence Project in Pittsburgh. I never noticed it. And it was brought to our attention, and so we pulled together an organization that was already up and running in Philadelphia, and with their leadership and the leaders of the bar in Pittsburgh, we have this up and running now, and people's lives are being changed and saved. People who were wrongly convicted, and these aren't debatable cases for those of you who know. It's completely clear, the science is overwhelming, and they're just in jail and they shouldn't be. And we feel really proud to be part of that. One other little story is we're working really closely with veterans, and that's a big mission for PNC. We're helping veterans, in particular, one group suffering from PTSD. And if you've read about this, the veterans, we're losing 22 veterans a week, I believe is the metric, to suicide across the country. And those that don't commit suicide, we're losing, marriages are being lost. The PTSD is a horribly debilitating situation for vets. So we're working with a wonderful organization called the Guardian Angels Medical Service Dogs, and a wonderful woman who runs that, and they basically raise pups to help save lives of veterans. And the dogs are paired with the veterans to help whatever particular stresses that veteran is dealing with. Sometimes it's a fear of loud noise or crowds or bright lights, or it can be any number of things. The dogs are very intuitive and they're trained, and so we're helping save lives. So we've raised a lot of money, and you raise the money, you help them raise a dog, you give the dog to a vet, and the vet, no suicides. And so now we're finding out, though, there's a whole pro bono legal aspect to that, because people with big dogs can't always get into work, or can't stay in certain hotels, or can't eat where they want to eat, or participate in public places. And so there are legal challenges that we're now getting to help with through the legal department, which has really been a fun mission and project. So there's so many things that you're all doing. I know you could all tell stories like this that you feel so good about. We're happy to be part of the Pro Bono Institute, happy to be part of this army that Esther launched and that Eve is now driving, and happy very much that you're here today to help celebrate the fantastic work of everybody here and so many who are back out on the front lines right now while we are in here. So with that, if you just indulge me, I'd like to ask my PNC team to stand, and it will reinforce the idea that in-house lawyers will go anywhere for a free lunch. So please, we'll see how many are here. Thank you very much. They're the ones that are really doing the work, and we're going to continue to do our part. Thank you for being here and for making this a special day. We're very much appreciative. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Greg, and congratulations again to PNC's legal department, the recipients of our 2018 Laurie D. Zelon Pro Bono Award.